Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be diving in how to prepare for a Zoom call interview. And I chose this topic because in this pandemic job market, you're going to find more and more that interviews are being conducted online. And I think it's important to take steps to prepare for those online interviews, as they can be different than in-person interviews. Very different. And they can also be kind of nerve-wracking if you're not used to Zoom or video conferencing. I want to give you some general interview tips, and I think they're going to be helpful in preparing you for the big day. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I know interviews can be nerve-wracking, and there is something to say about interviewing as a nurse practitioner. When you interview as a nurse practitioner, you are interviewing with executives, administrators, medical directors, and other providers. You can be scheduled for a panel interview, multiple interviews back-to-back, or a full-on itinerary interview where you get flown in and the red carpet gets pulled out. Many times they start the screening process with a Zoom call. The purpose of a Zoom call interview is for them to get to meet you and get an idea of your personality and your ability to make a connection with them. You want to be on your A game so that you can get past the nerves and recognize whether these people are the people that you want to work with, and if this is an organization that you are willing to commit to. There are some technical aspects to a successful Zoom call interview that I want to share. Number one, internet connection. So I want to share a little story about the importance of internet connection. I was conducting a live training and was discussing the importance of securing your internet connection. During the Zoom call, boom, my internet cuts out. I stayed calm and took my trusty hotspot, which is right on my phone, and I connected within 60 seconds or so. I apologized for the interruption and I kept it moving. Here's the key to tech problems. Sometimes you can do everything you can to prepare for the worst, but that's it. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So there are some tips to prepare for the worst. If you can, connect to a landline for the most stable internet connection. If you can't do that, then have the hotspot right next to you so that you can start it up if needed. Apologize for the interruption and keep it moving. Do not over-apologize. Try to keep it together. This is a great opportunity for you to show them how you perform under stress or when things don't go as planned. Show them that you are resilient and resourceful, and show back up. All right, number two, let's move on to the second best way to prepare for Zoom call interviews. Make sure that you have good lighting. I think natural lighting is going to be the best lighting for Zoom calls. However, you must be sure that the natural light is in front of you. If there's a window behind you or on the side of you, you're going to create a shadow and it will be more difficult for them to see you. If the light is too bright, it might blow out your face, and you need to be careful with just how much lighting comes in through that window. I recommend playing with the lighting setup about half hour before the call, especially if it's the natural light, because the natural light might be different if you try it maybe 2 hours before because of the sun coming up or down, depending on where the sun is at the time of the call. If natural light is not an option, you can use your overhead lighting. You just need to be sure that there is enough lighting to give a clear picture of your headshot. All right, so for your headshot, be sure that your entire face, head, and shoulders are in the frame and nothing is being cut off when you are talking to them. Also be sure that your background is free of clutter and won't be distracting to your interviewers. That brings me to number three, sound. You're going to need to be distraction-free for these calls, right? If you plan on doing your interview at home and you have small kids or pets, be sure that you have a plan for them when you are on your call. Even if you are in another room and you are locked in the room with a deadbolt, you might still hear the kids fighting in another room or your baby crying. And even if the interviewers can't hear that, that's definitely going to distract you and may make you more anxious than you already are. So avoid the problem altogether and maybe send the family out for some ice cream or for a walk. Remember, you need to be on your A game. All right, so the fourth way to prep and land that interview is to make eye contact. There is so much that is lost when conducting Zoom call interviews, and one of the biggest challenges that you're going to face on a Zoom interview is going to be making eye contact and making that human connection with your interviewers. The trick is to look directly into the camera when speaking and or listening, right? Then that can be really hard since you are innately programmed to look at the speaker's face, which is not the camera, right? So depending on the Zoom, you might be able to move the screen around and have the speaker's face right beneath the camera hole. And that way, when they are speaking to you, you are at least looking in the direction of the camera and you appear more engaged versus talking to them like this and saying, yes, that's a great question. Actually, I started my blah, 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 right? So as small as that might seem, it is really going to be helpful to set you apart and as a more engaged and more enthusiastic candidate. All right, so number 4, make sure to have your resume and portfolio out to review with your interviewers. For Zoom calls, of course, the interviewers should have a copy of your resume before the call. Like, I recommend having a printed copy of the resume out in front of you so that you can follow along with them as they review it. For portfolios, there are several ways you can review your portfolio with your interviewers. Some people have submitted those professional portfolios before the interview so that maybe a day before you can give it to them and then you can say in your email, this is the portfolio that I really would like to review in the interview tomorrow. You can also submit it with your application, but just be sure that they have it before the interview so that way you have your portfolio in front of you and you can reference it when you're talking about it. All right, so number 5. Headshot. Make sure the interviewers can see your whole head and shoulders. Try to angle yourself where they can see you from the shoulders up. Try to avoid being too close, right, where you're kind of right there, or too far. And make sure the angle, again, like you're not, the laptop is not right beneath you where you're kind of looking down on them or right above you. That, again, you want that shoulders up, that they can see you clearly. Again, the lighting needs to be right so that, again, you're giving them the clearest picture of you. All right, that does it for this video. I hope these tips were helpful for you and help you better prepare for the Zoom call interviews so that you can land your next nurse practitioner job. See you next time, guys.